be controversial and talk about frameworks, methods, and strategies. Some people can operate purely based on values and principles, but often when they're under pressure, those same people struggle to figure out what to do without some practices and tools as well. Now, over indexing on practices and tools can be harmful as well because you're being very mechanical about your agility. I have a personal belief that scaffolding from frameworks, methods, strategies can really, really help. As long as those frameworks, methods, strategies come from the view that we don't want too much prescription, we might want maybe a few rules, not that many rules. There are some approaches that I'm not a fan of because they're mostly about guidance, and when you give people mostly guidance, people don't know what to do in my experience, particularly in very large organizations. We got like thousands, tens of thousands of people. And so you give people guidance that can be fraught with danger. So giving people just a few rules, giving them something very sufficient can be very useful. I'm a big fan of open space and open agility and people making up their own frameworks, methods, strategies based on values and principles. I don't have any issue with that. There is some merit in the commoditization of some approaches like Scrum, like Kanban, Lean UX and so on. It does help, it provides scaffolding for people, it gives people something to start with as long as they're in keeping with the values and principles that go behind those if they exist for those approaches. Where I would add some caution is where frameworks, methods or strategies that you select are more like methodologies than methods, framework strategies, where they're too prescriptive, where they're spelling out every single thing you need to do to the extent where you can't really remember all these things. It's just too complicated. I think the giveaway sign is when you see a big picture that's trying to summarize how you deal with complexity. Any big picture, according to Dave Snowden, that tries to summarize complexity on one image, by definition doesn't deal with complexity, maybe only deals with complicatedness. And in complicatedness we can deal with many people, but for complex work, according to the EU Field Guide on dealing with complexity in a crisis, 15 is the ideal number, 15 people or less. For complex work, 5 people or less when we're in negative chaos. If for clear work or for complicated work, yes, we can maybe up to 150, the Dunbar number. And a lot of the patterns are operating around the Dunbar number on the assumption that maybe you've got 100 friends, and so maybe you can deal with 50 people at a time in the office, at work and so on. So frameworks can give you some scaffolding, but when the frameworks give so much prescription that really you're just following a process and we're not really into people in terms of how people are affected, and we're not considering the culture of the organization and how we want to behave, that is fraught with danger, and that would be a classic sign that we're trying to buy agility in a box. The thing is that as an executive, you have one of the biggest influences on how we can achieve authentic, sustainable agility. And buying agility in a box is not a path to doing that. Less can help, agility islands can help, Nexus can help, in the right hands flight levels can help. In my opinion, SAFe can be damaging, Scrum at Scale can be damaging. Those patterns tend to grow product owners like flowers, and they're wonderful people doing those product owner accountabilities, and I'm not sure if they even call them accountabilities in those approaches, but those people don't have power, and it just sends the wrong message. So try to demonstrate authentic agility by really understanding how the work moves, understand how your system, how your organization works, help your people deal with the frustrations they have in front of them, help to resolve some of those frustrations, and help to optimize the system by decluttering workflows, processes and systems, even declutter the offerings, the products and services that you have. Because according to Jared Spool, when we keep adding stuff to our products and services become so complicated that people don't know how to use them, and then we get disrupted by people who don't even understand the business domain. But because they've executed better on 25% of the functionality and made it much more intuitive, they're killing us and they're eating our breakfast and our dinner. So be careful with buying agility in a box. I don't believe it's possible to buy agility in a box. You need to be serious about these deletions. Hit delete is about deleting behaviors. It's not a recipe. It's not linear. Context is king. you might have alternative replacements, and there might be times when actually you decide to ignore some of the deletions. But if there's a pattern where you continue to exhibit the behaviors that I say you should delete, you might be in for a rough ride in terms of the unraveling of the agility that you've been working so hard to try to develop over the last months and years. Thank you.